Okay, Jenna. So today we are going to start the next topic, which is supply. Okay. So supply basically, why I am asking, starting the supply chapter, because we have recently covered demand chapter. So the supply chapter is totally opposite. So that's why the supply chapter. Clear? So, ma'am, what is the syllabus for supply chapter? So you will write chapter supply, and this is what we are going to do in the supply chapter. Okay. So you can quickly write it down.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, Amos.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay. So now today, as Jenna, we'll be covering that in the next class because Amos joined. So we'll be starting with the chapter. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So now, students, today we have to start with the next chapter, which is your sustainable development, right? Right. So let's just start with the chapter. Before starting the chapter, you will first write down this. I'll just introduce you to the syllabus, what we are going to study over there, right? And then we'll start. Okay. So coming to the as this is the last chapter from our end, last chapter in the sense the last chapter of the unit, right? Sustainable economic development. First of all, you will do meaning, effect of economic development on the resource and the environment, and including global warming. Okay, this is what we are going to study in this chapter. So first of all, you will okay, wait. I am not sharing my screen, right? I was just telling you. This one. Right? So first of all, you will write sustainable economic development. You will write the entire thing. Then we'll start with the chapter. Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Now let's just start with the chapter. So basically our chapter is environment and the sustainable development. Okay, so over here, this is the very important chapter. Why? Because right now economic crises are increasing day by day. Right. So everybody needs to focus on the things like what are the things that are going to, protect the environment and all that. So that's why they are focusing on this. This is the last chapter for which you are not making notes because for entire unit you have the PDFs, right? From next chapter onwards, you'll be making notes in the class itself, right? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But what I was planning to ask you people to, make notes for this chapter because this chapter is not lengthy enough. And one more thing, as because in this chapter you don't have, this is important chapter, so what I am planning that you people will make notes for this chapter. Okay, so what you do, because of course if I'll share the PDF, you won't be getting the content though, because you don't have to write each and everything, right? So you won't be getting the content to answer the things and all that. So what you do, just make notes for this chapter. Okay, Janam, okay, Amos, you will be making notes for this chapter. Okay, for the
Okay,
next two chapter you can use the PDF. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So now first write the chapter name. Chapter, just don't write 9, just write chapter environment and sustainable development.
Done.
Okay, now let's just start. So as our chapter is environment and the sustainable development. Okay, so let's just start with this. First of all, ma'am, what is environment? So you should understand what is an environment. So first of all, environment. So environment is defined as a total planetary inheritance and the totality of all the resources. So if this is your environment, this is your planet. Over here, whatever you have inside the planet, trees, mountain, human beings, animal, birds, everything is a part of environment. So environment is defined as a total planetary inheritance and the totality of all resources. It includes all the biotic as well as abiotic factors, right? So now, ma'am, what is the biotic and what are the abiotic? So biotic elements of the environment includes all the living elements like birds, animal, plants, forests, fisheries, okay? And abiotic elements of environment, they produce, like what they include, like air, water, lands, rock, sunlight. They are example of abiotic. Clear? This is so what you will write, hashtag environment. Okay, so environment is this, biotic and abiotic. Okay, then coming to functions of environment. Ma'am, what are the functions of environment? So first of all, you will not write this right now. First of all, you will write all the 4 functions. First, it supply resources. Resources here include both renewable resources as well as non-renewable. So environment provide you resources. It can be renewable resource or the non-renewable resource. Then second, it assimilate waste. Automatically environment assimilates the waste. For example, you ate apple and you threw all the peels over there, right? So automatically after few days you will find that there are no peels of apple. So that means environment is assimilating the waste. Okay. Plus, it sustains life to the genetic and biodiversity. So if you can see a good biodiversity, it's because of environment. If there is no environment, there is no biodiversity. Plus, it provides you the aesthetic services like a scenery. So every time nowadays people are like, we want good view, picture perfect view and all that. So if there is no environment, you will never get the picture perfect or the aesthetic view, right? So it is because of environment only. And now coming to 2 types of resources. So we have 2 types of resources. One is renewable resource and second one is non-renewable resource. So renewable resources are those which can be used without the possibility of the resource becoming depleted or exhausted. Those resources which you use and keep on using, and you don't have to feel like they'll be exhausted. They are renewable resources. And non-renewable are basically those which get exhausted due to extra use. So for example, fossil fuels, and over here fishes in the ocean, trees and everything, right? They are renewable and they are non-renewable. Clear? So what you are going to write, you are first of all you will write a hashtag environment and these part, then functions of environment, first, second, third, fourth function, and then you will make out table and you will write differentiate between renewable resource and non-renewable resources. Clear?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Oh,
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's just move to next thing. See, this is hashtag what happens when the rate of resource expression exceed that of the regeneration, right? So when this happens, what the environment
Hello, ma'am. We are not able to hear.
Okay, so sorry students, I just lost networks. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so what happens when, see, for example, you are using your resources at a good cost and there is no regeneration? Means that, for example, you are cutting down the trees, but you are not growing the trees, right? So what will happen basically? Because of this, environment will fail to perform its third function. What is the third function? Assimilated this to sustain life or providing genetic and biodiversity, right? And because of this, what will happen? Economic environmental crisis will be there, and this is a situation all over. So today what is happening? People are using the resources, right? And continuously they are using, but they are not regenerating the things, right? So because of this, environment crisis are taking place. Now next things, current environment crisis, right? So basically what happens, the rising population of the developing countries and the affluent consumption and production of standard of the developed world have placed a huge stress on the environment in terms of first two functions. Okay, now why environment, what is environmental crisis and why it is coming, right? So just understand this with a very simple logic, and this is very important which you have to remember. See, this is a story. Let's just take a story of a ward. For example, this is your cupboard, right? Let's just, you can relate it, and this is you, right? You wanted a t-shirt. Okay, so what you did, it was like clothes were like this, well managed and like this. So what you came and you wanted this t-shirt, so for this you just spread out all the clothes and everything over here, right? And you got the t-shirt, you went it, right? So then your younger brother came over there, he saw it's a loss of mess, right? So he also wanted a t-shirt and he's finding somewhere, but still you went away, and suddenly your mom came and she saw the mess. She started scolding him, right? That why you did it and what is this like this. So who, like tell me who is wrong over here, you or your brother? Tell me.
Ma'am, if I made the mess, then it's my problem.
Yes, it's your problem, right? So you should compensate to your brother, right? You should help him to clear all the mess, right? It should not only his responsibility to clear the mess, right? It is your responsibility to clear the mess, like equal contribution, right? So this is what he did. It's not like that only you created the mess, but again he wanted a t-shirt, so he did it, but earlier you did it, right? So you people are equally responsible for the mess, right? So similarly over here, what is happening in a country, usually what happens, there are two, in a world you have two countries. One is developed countries, right? And one is developing countries, ing, right? Developed countries is you, the younger, the older brother, right? And developing is basically the younger brother who is keep on developing. So what these developed countries did, basically they made it all the good resources and everything. What they, so they exploited the environment in a very, you can say, large extent, right? Now, and that's why they are developed, because they have everything with them, highest technology, good resources, everything, because somewhere they exploited the environment and environment suffered a lot. Now the developing countries, they also want to grow, they want to have a good technology and everything, so again they also have to exploit the resource, right? But now everybody is on to them, why you are doing this, why you are doing that, like this, right? So this is the problem they are facing, right? So this is like, now the situation is like every year we have COP, like 27 is going on right now, right? It is basically, over here they discuss about the climate, environment and everything, right? They discuss all the things. So this is the issue going on, like they over discuss the things. Now what the developing countries are demanding, they are demanding that developed countries should help the developing countries to grow, plus they should provide compensation to them, so that they can somewhere tackle all the situation, and they can also make themselves develop, right? So this is what. So now basically over here, what, see, many resources have been extinct and the wastage generated are beyond the absorptive capacity. So see, developed countries use the resources in a large extent, so now your resources become extinct, okay? Plus the waste generated through them, the waste which they generated, it is beyond the absorptive capacity, like environment cannot absorb it, right? So the result we are today are the threshold of the environment crisis. So because of this, because of your developed countries, you have environment crisis, because they, first of all, they use the resources and they became extinct, plus they generated the waste which is beyond the absorptive capacity. So these are the problems which happened or which took place, clear? Because of this, environment crisis is there. Okay, coming to second, the industrial development has polluted and dried up the rivers and other aquifers, making water an economic good. So now what is happening? All the environment development, because of this pollution came, right? They dried up the river and everything, plus the aquifer. Now earlier, in India, you were not purchasing, like water was, clean water was available everywhere, right? So now what is happening, everybody, now water is very costlier, you have to purchase water. No, you will not get cleaner water everywhere. First of all, you have to aquify it, clean it and everything, so it is economic good. Now it is very costlier. Okay, now coming to third one, the intensive and the extensive excretion of both renewable and non-renewable resources has exhausted some of the vital resources, right? So over here, what is happening, the resources which you use, intensive and extensive extractions of renewable and non-renewable resources, they have exhausted the important resources, and we are compelled to spend huge on technology and research to explore new resources. See, everybody need resources. For example, you went to your wardrobe and whatever clothes you have, you misplaced them, right? Or you wore them. So now what your younger brother has to do, he has to purchase the new clothes, right? So similarly, developed countries use all the product, right? So now what they have to do, basically they have to spend a lot of money on their technology to explore the new resources. Okay, then next, added to these are the health cost of degrade environment. Plus of this, what is happening, this, the decline, this you will write, decline in air and water quality has resulted in increased incidence of respiratory and waterborne diseases, right? So because of environment crisis, what is happening? Because you are polluting the environment, because of this you have to suffer. And from here you will write decline in air and water quality has resulted in increased incidence of respiratory and waterborne diseases. So most of the people are facing the issue for respiratory and waterborne diseases. Plus, global environment issues such as global warming and ozone depletion also contribute to the increased financial commitment of the government, right? So what is happening over here? These problems are somewhere forcing the government to focus more on like financial commitment to all these things to clear it out, right? So this is what. So these are the problem related to environment crisis. So what you will write? You will write first this hashtag what happens when the rate of resource excretion exceeds the rate of regeneration. Then you will write this. You will write this leads to environment crisis. Okay, then you will write hashtag current environment crisis. These are basically the current environment crisis. First, second, third, fourth, and fifth. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now let's just do the next, which is basically supply demand reversal of environmental resources. Okay. So ma'am, what is the supply demand reversal of an environment? So basically what was happening earlier, in the early days when civilization just began or before the phenomenon increase in population and before countries took the industrialization, the demand for environment resource and the service was much less than their supply. Okay. This meant that the pollution was within the absorptive capacity of the environment and the rate of resources excretion was less than the rate of regeneration of the resource. Hence, environment problem did not arise. So when the civilization just began, there was no much demand, not that much demand. So pollution was basically absorptive. Whatever pollution you were doing, environment was able to absorb that, right? But with the population explosion and with the advent of industrial revolution to meet the growing needs of expanding population, things change. When the population explosion took place, things change. The result was that the demand for resources, both for the production and consumption, were beyond the rate of regeneration. So whatever you are consuming, whatever you are producing, that was beyond the regeneration of the resource, right? Like you were, for example, you are cutting 4 trees, you were only planting 1 or 2 trees, so it was you were not doing regeneration, right? Or you were not planting the trees at all. The pressure of unabsorptive capacity of the environment increased tremendously. This has resulted in reversal of supply demand relation of the environment resources. That is why we are now faced with the increased demand of environmental resources and services, but their supply is limited due to overuse or the misuse. Hence the environment issue of waste generation and the population become critical today, right? So that's why, because now what is happening, supply demand relation of the reverse supply was less but demand was more, right? This was a reverse relationship, and because of this the supply became limited and due to inverse, or you can say misuse or overuse of the product, right? Hence the problem of waste generation and pollution have become critical today. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is your homework. You will write this one in your home, at your home. Wait, you will not write this, you will only write this paragraph. Okay, so take the screenshot for this.
Done, ma'am. Ma'am, we have to write the full paragraph.
Yes, this full paragraph. And the heading will be supply demand reversal of environment resource. Okay. So why it came, what is, first of all, what is supply demand, and because of this, what is happening. So till here is what is supply demand relationship, and after this, it is because of this, what has happened. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And also these two, global warming and ozone depletion, you will take the screen.